Okay, it seems to be working. So, welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm sorry I couldn't be there with you in person, but I wanted to tell you about my New Year's revolution. The reason I call it a New Year's revolution is because most people don't like resolutions. Resolutions imply that there's something wrong that has to be fixed. And really, when we have our so-called goals and revolutions, it's not because we want to fix something. It's because as human beings, we want to evolve and unfold and experience new and experience better and experience more. It's just who we are. I've got some really astute predictions for 2019. And it may go a little against the grain because if we listen to the news, it's all doom and gloom. But really, this is going to be the year, the absolute best year yet to multiply our income, if we've got drive and audacity, and obviously as a women's circle we do, it's new beginnings and it's easier and it's more encouraged and faster, and the rewards come more, what's the word I'm looking for? Not just faster, but bigger than we ever imagined. And it's going to be the best year yet in human history because, well, we're always evolving. We're always learning something new. We can improve our health. There's so much information out there. We can improve our longevity. Again, there's so much information out there. There is more information to build our business, to grow our business, to be our ultimate best self. But what's really cool is the energy flow is there for us to do it. And we're all developing the intuition to move further, to be who we really are and not stay in what I call the deception. And that brings me to our story. Because today's story is about a little unicorn. It's not a fable. It's not a myth. It's a truth. And in 1955, a little kid was born. I call her a kid because kids are baby billy goats. And she was born to a family of billy goats. They weren't sheep or sheeple. They didn't like to follow the tribe. They liked to do their own thing, but they knew how to conform and sort of not make waves. Well, this little kid was born, but she didn't fit in to the family. They actually called her the black sheep, not because she was trouble, but because she thought differently. They kept saying, think in the box, think in the box, think like we do, don't feel this. And she going, what box? What box? There is no box. I don't see what you see. She'd walk into a room and her father would say to her, shh, you're too loud. And her mother would say, don't sparkle. And she'd say, your boobs are too big, your waist is too small, your hips are too this. Her mother was a seamstress, her mother was a tailoress and would make clothes. And nothing she ever made fit this little kid. And the other thing that was wrong was everybody in the family had curly hair and the kid had this beautiful flowing wavy mane. And she'd like to pull it back and put it in a ponytail. But she had this little horn on her head. So her mother would shave down the head and put pin curls there to hide the horn because nobody knew what this horn was. Male kids, billy goats, would grow horns when their time came for puberty. But this little kid had a horn and it sparkled and it shone. It was a very bright light. So she would walk around like this so she wouldn't show people her horn. And that way she wouldn't see this big bright spotlight everywhere. And when she wanted to join the army to be a medic, because everybody had to join the army, they laughed at her and they told her, no, you can't be a medic. You can be a nurse, a secretary, or maybe if you're really, really good, a teacher. Well, she didn't want to be a nurse, she didn't want to be a secretary, and she didn't want to be a teacher. So she did what she figured was a rebellion. She knew she wanted to travel, and she already spoke French and German and English and had a smattering of Russian and could pick up languages really well because she had these little big ears that understood languages, translated it in her mind very, very quickly. So she became an airline stewardess. She could travel the world. She could use her gift of language. And she got to engage with people of different countries. She lived in Scotland. She lived in Yugoslavia. She traveled to the tropics. She was in South Africa, but she had to stay on the plane because of her religion, which was stamped on her passport. And here again, she started bucking against this box thing. What do you mean that my parents' religion and how they raised me won't let me get off the plane? Everybody else got off the plane. Oh, they're Protestant? I'm Catholic? What the heck? And the same thing happened in Ireland. And she started bucking against these walls. And she got fed up and she decided she would do something else. So she joined mainstream and she met a stallion. Oh, he was beautiful. He had this wavy, thick mane of black hair and sparkling blue eyes and muscles. Oh, he was so handsome. And he said that she was a mare, that she wasn't a kid. She wasn't a billy goat. No, she was a beautiful mare. And he encouraged her to be more like a horse and a mare and do all the things and prance with the herd. And it was fun at first. It was really, really a lot of fun. And she felt beautiful and she got physically fit and she started to grow. But he got a little fed up with her because they wanted to have children. And for some reason, the stallion and this mare, I'm going to call her a billy goat, they couldn't make colts. They couldn't make ponies. Something wasn't working. And they worked together at it for 13 years. They had a lot of practice. It was wonderful. She enjoyed the practicing. And when they finally did have a colt, this colt sparkled. And he too had a beautiful wavy mane, and it was more blonde, not like his stallion dad, but he was like his mom. He could feel when other people were hurt or hurting. He could tell where other people had pain. He didn't need to look at them to see what their emotions were. And he felt a little bit oppressed by all of the heavy emotions and that heavy specific gravity on this planet Earth. But he managed to get along with people. He was very outgoing and just loved everybody. If the UPS man came to the door, he'd want to go with the UPS man and he'd say, "Bye, I love you," because he had unconditional love for everything. But he found that everybody else didn't have this unconditional love. So he and his mom became best friends. And the stallion became very angry. The stallion didn't like the bond that this colt and the mare had. Now, the interesting thing about the mare is when she hung around with sheeple, they thought she was a sheep. And if she hung around with cows, they thought she was a cow after all those big brown eyes. People saw in her what they were. They saw their best reflected off of her. And so she would fall in love with them too, because she was unconditionally loving of everyone. But she could feel the emotions and the heaviness that was there, the sadness, the anger, the frustration, the grief, the apathy, the shame, the blame. And she started thinking it was her because she heard it in her head and she could feel it in her body. And she didn't know how to clear it. What was wrong with her? The other horses didn't feel this. And then she got pregnant again. And she was so happy to be pregnant again. And her colt was talking to the baby and saying, "Wawa, come out and play. Come on, you're growing fast enough. Come on out, let's play." But she was very sick. And she crawled from room to room. She didn't have the strength, the stamina, and she was throwing up all the time, and she was losing weight. And the stallion got really fed up with this. He said, "Just abort it, get rid of it. It's a parasite, it's killing you, let's get rid of it, it's like cancer." But she knew it wasn't a parasite. And she knew that it wasn't malevolent or bad. And she started seeing a different side of the stallion. She didn't know how to reconcile that, or it didn't fit into her paradigm, but she knew that there was something going on here. So she nurtured this little baby that was growing in her. And when the baby was born, it had a little unicorn horn and it sparkled. And she too could feel everybody's emotions and sensations, and she didn't like it and had a rash from head to foot, more like dragon scales. They weren't so pretty and they weren't comfortable for her because the atmosphere here wasn't right. But she and the mom had a bond, and she and the colt had a bond, and she didn't like the stallion at all. Well, the stallion didn't like having these little colts, and he certainly didn't like having a unicorn because, after all, unicorns don't exist. They're not real. And he wanted the mare to get rid of the unicorns. Well, the mare loved these unicorns, and she realized that if she gave birth to little unicorns, that must mean she was a unicorn too. So she stopped pretending to be a mare, and she stopped running with the horses. And she started tuning in to what was really going on here because there was no one to teach her. She knew she wasn't a billy goat. She knew she wasn't a sheeple. She wasn't a zebra either. She was a unicorn. And she could feel the unicorn wings wanting to fly and to open up. She could feel it The bones were shifting and changing. And one day, the stallion went off with some other mares and left the unicorn and her two little unicornettes alone, emptied their bank accounts, and disappeared. Well, for the first day, the mare was distraught, upset, really, really felt rejected. Except there was something different about the energy. It wasn't heavy anymore. It wasn't dark anymore. It wasn't sad. It sparkled. It was crisp. It was like snowflakes. It felt like being cast adrift. But it wasn't lost. It was free. It was free. The unicorn, for the first time in her life, felt like herself. She felt happy. She felt big and expansive. She felt light. And it felt good. And even though her bank accounts were empty and she had to find a new home and she had to find a new job and she moved to a different city with her little unicornettes, she was happy for the first time ever. And she started gathering her own tribe of unicorns because they liked her light and they saw her sparkle and they knew how authentic it was and how big it was and how bright it was. And they wanted to learn from her how to bring in their sparkle into what they were doing. And what she started to discover was that when she touched people, she could heal them. She could take away their sadness. She didn't take it on. She diffused it. She allowed to hold space and raise their energy so that they could become more like themselves. Well, she grew during this time because it was a struggle. Corporate world didn't understand her. And although they loved her help and they loved her sunshine, she was feeling a little bit stifled and stuck and drained and feeling sick. So she opened up her healing practice and allowed the heavens to bring in the people who needed her help. And her colt grew into a beautiful stallion himself. He was a unicorn. But for now, because he was wearing the policeman's uniform, he couldn't quite see himself until he met another little unicorn and the two of them fell in love and he got to be himself again. Now the second unicorn, well, she grew up too, but she was watching her mom change. Her mom was changing from unicorn into phoenix, coming out of the ashes and rising into the flames and spreading her wings and becoming more of who she was. And then the end of 2018, there was a car accident, a collision. And everything in the phoenix's mind shifted and new revelations opened up. And the energies of the eclipses and the full moons and the Leo moon and the Aquarius moon and the stars and the universe and everything started to grow and manifest in her a completely new change. She could feel those phoenix wings rise up, but there was more. She finally had a heat and a flush in her body. She'd been waiting all her life for something that the doctors called menopause to make her warm because she was always cold in this world. But this time she wasn't. And she knew that the heat wasn't an illness or a disease. It would come to allow her to make change. And so throughout the Christmas holiday season, the colts, or the little unicorns, and the mother phoenix were cleaning out and purging and pulling out old photo albums and things from the basement, getting rid of furniture and bringing out clothes and just finding out who they really were. And she realized that this was the year of the dragon. The dragons have never been malevolent or evil. The dragons are the seraphim angels that sit at the hand of the universe and call on all the unicorns to evolve and to grow and to unfold into phoenixes. And the phoenixes, although they've gone through hardship and trouble and drama and trauma, come through it and make their weaknesses their strengths. And these strengths help them evolve and become leaders and charismatic influencers of the truth. They're helping to break through the shadow of deception and allowing us to unfold and be who we really are. We're all empaths. We're all healers. And this is the revolution of 2019. We're all waking up and we're using our skills and we're using the gift of language, not to spellcast and hypnotize into the dark, but to awaken and evolve the human race. The little billy goat, when she grew up, realized she was never a billy goat. She was a dragon, a baby dragon that took 63 years to evolve and to step into what all human beings are meant to be, to sit at the hand of the universe and orchestrate all of the new manifestations and orchestrate and evolve and create and unfold. And this is my gift for you. You're all dragons. Embrace the fire, the flames, the gold, the alchemy of creating what we are here to create. And if you're still stuck in the phoenix stage, that's okay too, because the phoenix rises from the ashes and uses what others may deem weaknesses, or you may even call core wounds, but on the other side of your pain is your passion. Use your passion. Don't listen to anyone else. It's all in here. Wake up, my darlings. Wake up. We're changing the world. This is our revolution. Some of you will stand on stage and speak your truth. Others will have a healing chamber and heal those who need the healing. You'll boost their energy. You'll open their heart. You'll help them unfurl their wings like butterflies, and you'll help us all to fly. Welcome to the revolution. It's wonderful. It's blessed. It is so much more than we ever knew. And the human race has evolved through all of this. And we now have food brought to our doorstep. And we have food from all over the world. We can give ourselves and humanity the longevity, the health, the nurturing that we need. Just don't fall into the deception, the darkness. What you focus on grows. Grow. Evolve. Welcome to my revolution. If you want more information, call Jess to reduce your stress. Couldn't resist. I hope you girls get something out of this. I'm going to be writing a children's story about this, and this is changing my practice into a new evolution, because I used to cater to the unicorns. I used to help the empaths find out who they are, find discernment for someone else's energy, not to push it away, but to grow and enhance their light. You are the lighthouses. Let's go out there and be lighthouses. And if we shine, the darkness will look away because it can't stand how bright we are. God bless.